2 weeks into January now, and I decided to finally do a what I knit in 2023 video. 2023 has probably been one of my most, I don't want to say productive because knitting isn't really about productivity, it's about enjoyment. But it is the year that I have produced the biggest number of things that I've ever produced, just because I've been really enjoying it. So I thought I would, well, start out with what I'm wearing, which I actually just finished, a couple of weeks ago. I started it back in, gosh, there's something on it already, I don't know what that is. I started it back in February of 2023, I think. This is the Arctic Light sweater by Kotova Kika, who is probably one of my favorite sweater designers and definitely favorite knitting vloggers on YouTube. And I knit it in, I believe that this is the recommended yarn. I knit it in Knitting for Olive, I think it was, yeah, the heavy merino, with a single strand of silk mohair. And let's see, things to note. It wasn't as hard as it looks. Like, it looks really complicated, but once I memorized the pattern repeat, it was pretty simple. It grew about 2 inches when I blocked it, in both in like length, and also it's much looser than it was. So there's that. I wasn't, well, it did say that it would grow. It also relaxed some at the neck up here, which was really good because it felt kind of tight a little bit. I'm not much of a turtleneck person. I'm actually usually, I run very warm, so it's, I mean, knitting sweaters for myself is sometimes a little bit of a, do you really need this? But yeah, it was a really enjoyable knit. It kind of took all year. It wouldn't have taken all year if I hadn't like put it down and picked up knitting so many other projects. It's not like it took that long, because it actually took that long for me to consistently knit on it. I knit tons of other things in between there. So yeah, this is one of the most recent things that I finished, but also started almost a year ago. All right, another sweater that I knit for myself. This is called the Tweed Pullover, I believe. This is actually the first full-size sweater that I ever knit for myself. And it's really simple. It's not, obviously there's nothing complicated about it in terms of cables or anything like that. The yarn is actually yarn that I bought over a decade ago when I was in Ireland. I was enamored with the idea of buying Irish yarn and making myself a sweater, and I bought a ton of it, and it is finally a sweater for me. And I bought so much that I actually have enough left over to make a second sweater, which is, I'm working on one for my husband, which is gonna be very similar to this. It's gonna be just a plain sweater, because with this tweed kind of yarn, it's got what's called Donegal tweed in it. It can't really take a complicated pattern. I tried a test swatch, maybe I'll try and find a picture of it and put in, where I used it to cable, and it just looked super busy. So decided to stick with a very simple, basic stockinette stitch for this. So this was actually the first sweater that I finished for myself, and actually was started in 2022, and I believe finished in like either January or February of 2023. The second sweater that I finished in 2023, also started and begun like last winter, is this one. This pattern is by, I think she goes by Park Slope Knits. This is the notorious RBG sweater. So if you look at the motif up here, it's meant to look a bit like the lace collars that Ruth Bader Ginsburg used to wear. And also the sleeves are this lovely balloon sleeve, which I will probably be incorporating into some other sweaters, whether they call for it or not, because I just really like the way it looks. But it was, you know, it's supposed to kind of have the idea of like sort of a loose judge's robe look to it. And this one I knit out of, I think this is completely 100% alpaca. And it's really, really soft, like so soft. I could wear this against my skins if I wanted to. Absolutely not the case with this one. This is not meant to be worn against the skin. This is a rather rough wool, and it is a layering piece for sure. The one that I'm wearing a t-shirt under it, so like I don't mind it. It's fine on the arms, I guess. Then I also knit myself 3 summer tops this year, all of them using patterns by Kika. With the first one, I learned to follow the pattern after making the mistake of not following the pattern. So this is the, I think it's called the Ooh La La top. So this is done really in a basic sort of, it's knit in the round, bottom up with a stockinette stitch, and then when you get to toward the top, you cast off the back stitches and then knit up the front, and then you put some of the stitches on hold, knit across, knit one of the straps, and then I think you pick up the other stitches and knit the other strap. When I did this the first time, I'll see if I can find pictures of me wearing it both ways. Basically, I didn't believe that you needed to put the straps as far out. I thought they needed to be in further, so I cast off more back stitches than it called for, and then the straps ended up being very awkwardly in the middle of my chest. So I don't know, I kind of left it that way for a little bit. I wore it that way, and then I realized I really just didn't like it, and I needed to fix it. So I took the straps apart and took apart like the very front of the top, and then redid it. So lesson learned, at least try listening to the pattern first, because it might actually know what it's talking about. And this is all knit in a sort of mercantilized cotton, which I bought in Spain, again, years ago, with no clue what I was going to use it for. But it turned out to be a cute little summer tank. All right, the next one I'm not in love with. I don't think it's the pattern's fault. I think it's my fault. I think I should not have held the yarn double. So this I knit out of just various cottons that I had leftovers from. In fact, one of them is the same as this. I had a little bit left over from this. And then I think this blue, and this bluish green were left over from a baby sweater that I made. And then I bought the dark blue to kind of trim it in and do the bottom in. I don't think I should have held it double. This is the Ooh La La top by, again, Kika. And I think I was just really worried about about the holes in it being too big, about it being like a little bit see-through or something. So I decided to hold it double, and it just ended up making it so thick. It's like, it's fine, I've worn it, but I don't love it. And also what I didn't love is that, I don't know, this cotton that it's trimmed in is not the softest cotton in the world. You know, when I'm wearing it and my arm is moving like this, like when I'm just walking down the street in the summer, I noticed that, like, you know, this part of your underarm right here below your armpit, it's like your skin is very soft there and sensitive, and it rubs against this, which is kind of rough, and I'm not in love with it. I don't know what I'll do with it. I don't know if I'll end up taking it apart. I don't know yet, to be decided. And then the top that I knit, and I followed the instructions completely to a T. I learned from this top and like the quality of cotton that I needed to use. I made sure I got a cotton that felt really soft when I started this top. This is called the Sailor Swift top. I think she might have, this is just my opinion, I have no idea, but this came out right around the time of the Eras tour, and I feel like Sailor Swift, Taylor Swift, like she was a little bit capitalizing maybe on that name and the popularity. Anyway, I'm sure it was a popular pattern. It's a really comfy pattern. I love the little I cord that goes all the way around the armholes and the neckline. It makes it so just really finishes it nicely. It was originally knit in like a navy blue and white, so that's why it was Sailor Swift. I decided to do it in a baby pink. This was my contribution to like the Barbie girl summer. I originally went to the yarn shop looking for a really hot pink that I could do it in. I didn't find that at the time, and I was just impatient and wanted to get started on it. So this I finished kind of towards the end of the summer, and so I didn't really get to wear it a ton, and I can't wait until the coming summer to get to wear it a lot more. So those are the garments that I knit for myself. And then I actually knit 3 different pillow covers. So this one, I got all of these out of, what's the book? This book, Knitting at Home. I've had this book for a really long time. I think I've knit like some socks out of it or something before, but it has a variety of pillow cover prints in it. I really just like the garter rib pillow. Now, I don't love that it's on an IKEA pillow form that is a little bit sad, for lack of a better term. I feel like if it had double the amount of puffiness in it, it would be a little bit better. So I'm thinking actually about buying another pillow form and inserting in here so that it's a little bit puffier, because it's like, I don't know, it just seems a little bit sad. But I really like the color, and this is also done in a really soft cotton that I got and really like. So there's that. This is sort of the garter rib pillow. Yeah, the garter rib pillow that is also in the book. The dimensions are different than what's in the book because this is the shape of the pillow that I had. So I think I just kind of test swatched and figured out my gauge, and then cast on accordingly to make it. And this I knit flat as one piece and then just seamed it on 3 sides, so there's no seam on the one side. This one was knit in 2 separate pieces, and it's seamed on all 4 sides, which I don't love. So I'm pretty sure I knit this one first, I knit this one second, and then with this one, I had sort of learned a little bit more. Now, this one I actually designed. I mean, it's not, I guess it's a design. I came up with it. I used, again, the same yarn as I had for this, but then also I had it in a coral color. I just decided this little kind of repeat, and this I decided to knit in the round, which was nice because then at the end it meant I just had to seam it on 2 sides. So progressively fewer seams as we go along was the sort of goal. So that was the sort of at-home house stuff that I knit. Then we can get around to these, which are these little sweaters that I knit, and they should have been completed last year. They were almost completed last year. The one was completed, this one, and then it turned out that I didn't cast off the neck opening the right way, and it wasn't big enough to fit over the child's head. What did I learn from this project? Children's heads are disproportionately large. You think that their head is proportionate to their bodies, and they're not. They have big heads compared to their small bodies. Anyway, so I learned that it is really important to do the Italian bind off. I also learned finally how to rearrange a 2x2 ribbing into a 1x1 ribbing for the Italian bind off. I avoided that for so long because the book that I had that had instructions on it was just, I tried to follow the instructions. I couldn't figure it out. I don't know why I didn't immediately just do the thing that I usually do, which is look on YouTube for a video. Because as soon as I did that, I figured it out. It was really simple. And now I have a 2x2 that became a 1x1. And I did the Italian bind off. Who knew? So this is by Knitting for Olive, this pattern. And this, I believe, this is like the 1-year-old size. No, it's maybe the 2-year-old size actually. And then I did it again in, I think this should be the 4-year-old size. Now this one obviously is a little bit different. I was running out of the green yarn and I had what seemed like plenty of the coppery brown colored yarn left. I thought I had enough left. I didn't. And it was like 2 or 3 days after Christmas, when I was going to see the family, the friend whose little boys I was knitting these for, and I didn't have enough, which was so disappointing. So I took it when I went to see them anyway, and he tried it on, which was great because this was some friends that live back in Pennsylvania and I'm in Chicago, so it was a little bit of a challenge knitting when you don't have the person there to try stuff on. Yeah, so I didn't have enough, so I had to finally, I had to order another skein of both the green and the brown in order to finish this, but that's kind of why it ended up getting the copper collar and the striped sleeves, because I didn't think I was going to have enough of the green. I didn't have enough of either one. So yeah, those are all of the completed objects that I have. There are other completed objects that I've made, which I'll talk about, and I'll do some voiceover of them, but I've given them away already. One of them was like a pair of mittens. There's been 2 baby sweaters and multiple baby apple hats. Basically everyone in my life, if you have a baby, you get an apple hat. It's not gender specific and I can make them really quickly, so everybody gets apple hats. Yeah, so that is basically what I knit this year, and it's been a joy, like an absolute joy to do all of this knitting. I feel like I've really grown as a knitter. I feel kind of like I could conquer just about anything now. I'm not really intimidated by new patterns. I've messed up enough times and ripped things out enough times that I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? That is not how I feel about sewing, because sewing involves cutting fabric. I also just got a sewing machine for Christmas and I've started to do some things, and I'm gonna make another little episode about my sewing adventures so far and my sewing plans. But yeah, I feel much more nervous about sewing. I'm much more risk adverse when it comes to sewing than I am knitting. Hopefully I'll gain some confidence over this year. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this little video. If you've made it this far and stuck around, thank you. I am making these, I don't know, just for fun, just almost as much for myself as for anyone else who watches them, because it's nice to kind of look at all of the things that I've made and been like, wow, like, how cool is that? So yeah, that's about it. See you later when I have some more sewing or knitting news to talk about. Bye.